Hello everyone, it's Yvonne here. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a question for you. Is brand strategy just BS? Branding is so much more than a logo and marketing is more than advertising. Don't believe us? Then make sure you stay with us today and have this great, informative, interactive discussion about brand strategy. And also find out not only the why of brand strategy, but the how to connect those dots. So that way your internal and external customers kind of have that same experience, branding experience. This live session with Melanie is going to be amazing. Super, super excited. She is from Fresh Path Marketing, and I can't wait for you guys to get to know her a little bit and hear what she has to say. She is super smart. I met her on a marketing committee at WSFA, and it's going to be an amazing show. So make sure you guys stay with us. While we're waiting for everyone to come on in, make sure you say hello. Let us know where you are from. I always love to see that. Also, as a reminder, if you have any questions for Melanie or myself, make sure you post those in the comments, and we will get to those as time permits. Sound good? A few more things before Melanie comes on. I want to make sure that you guys have entered our customer giveaway. We teamed up with Fresh Path Marketing and Melanie to give away 20 workshops over the course of the next 12 months. And you can select from 5 different packages for each round that we're doing the giveaway. So the first round that we have, the deadline is coming up June 24th, and the winners are going to be announced July 1st. So we're going to be talking more details about the giveaway with Melanie at the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned and check out the link to learn more of those amazing details. You guys don't want to miss out. I promise it's going to be amazing. Also wanted to let you know that we still have a really great selection of Edelman's Peonies on Mayish.com. Check those out, guys. I love peonies, and we have more and more coming in. It's always fresh on our Mayish Direct Box Lots. Also wanted to make sure, if you're going to AIFD, the symposium's coming up, guys. Make sure you visit us during the partner showcase and check out our Mayish pole display. And also look for our flowers and Sue McClary's stage presentation. Last but not least, our CEO, Patrick Dawson, he's going to be there being a part of the Dig Deep Roots panel discussion. So super excited about that. We're getting ready for that. We're finalizing all the details. People are packing their bags, and we're going to be going to Las Vegas, baby. All right. Let me just check everything else, and then I'm gonna bring on Melanie, and we're gonna get started. Hey, Melanie.
Hi, how are you, Yvonne? How is everybody out there?
How are you?
I am doing very well. I'm trying to stay cool out here in the heat. That's getting to all of us, I feel like, across the country, but doing really, really well this summer. Thank you.
Yes, it is getting sizzling hot everywhere. That is for sure. I'm in South Florida, guys, so it's been like this for a little bit, and it's stormy and crazy, but I also love it because I don't miss the snow from Cleveland, I have to say.
We can stay away, right?
Yep, exactly. So, Melanie, before we get started, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your flower story?
Sure, absolutely. So man, I've only been in the industry, it feels like a very short time relative, to most people that I chat with. You get people that have been there, they're lifers. So 6 years is how long I've been in the floral industry. And I got my start working for a hard goods company, as you know, Yvonne, Syndicate Sales. And when I first started there, it was more just about special projects, and then I launched a website there, and then I got the opportunity to work as the director of marketing over all of Syndicate's brand line. So that was a really exciting opportunity. I learned so much. I got to make all these great industry connections. I met you at WFSA and probably some other flower friends that are joining us today. And then Last year, actually, February, it doesn't seem like just 18 months ago or so, I branched out with my business partner, Laura Chanel, who's been my mentor throughout my flower career, and we started Fresh Path. And so it's been a wild journey, a super fun ride. But what we're focused on really is trying to help anybody in the floral industry with their marketing needs. So we consult, we actually get in there and we do the tactical work, we do the graphic design work, the research, the branding, website development. So a little bit of everything, anything that's marketing related. And it's not just for retail florists, even though we love to work with retail florists. It's really everyone in the industry is who we're looking to help. So we got a big pool of potential customers and clients, and so happy to help more people enjoy more flowers every day. That's our goal.
I love that. And I love anything that has to do with, helping people enjoy more flowers. That's amazing. So, why did you decide to start Fresh Path Marketing? Like what kind of gave you that idea and gave you the courage to do something like that? Because that's a
Well, yeah,
big jump.
those are two different things, right? Ideas and courage. When you marry the two of them, sometimes it's very successful. We like to think that we've done that and we've done a fairly good job. But so the idea itself had been forming ever since I met Laura. We would work with so many great wholesale florists. I mean, we even work with Mayesh and just the more people we met in the industry across the entire supply chain, we found out that they didn't have the marketing expertise in-house, nor could they potentially afford it to bring on a full-time head. And there was so much focus most of the time on the back end of things, so on operations, maybe logistics, sourcing, inventory, that the marketing piece typically fell to somebody else who had a full-time day job. And so, as we know, and you, Yvonne, in marketing, it should be so much more than that. It should have so much more of a focus, and we'll talk about why it's so important later. But and so we said, well, why can't we just deliver that, right? Why can't we put our marketing brains and expertise out there and really allow companies to leverage that without having to bring on a full-time head, and that can be somewhat flexible. So whether it's project-based or maybe it's just certain portions of the business need to be worked on, like a specific market channel or program, we can definitely do that and augment and serve as an extension of different companies within the floral industry. So that was the idea there. And then we did it. And then we went out and we just did it. We launched it. And it's like I said, we've been so grateful for the welcoming reception by the industry.
Amazing. Yes. And I know marketing is obviously a passion of mine. I know a lot of people have so many questions and just kind of feel lost on what to do or how to do it, or just how to get started, because it can be
Exactly.
very overwhelming when you kind of think of all the different pieces and parts. And luckily I do have like a team. It's a small team, but I have a team that like helps, and this is kind of all we focus on. But not everyone is that fortunate to have those
Right.
resources. So I think having someone like you with Fresh Path Marketing is just really, really important. I think a really great service. And so with that said, today's topic we're going to be covering is brand strategy. So can you first get us started by defining what brand strategy is?
Sure. So you alluded to it at the beginning with our our little description of this program. I think that there is a misconception, just in general, if you haven't studied marketing or people aren't familiar with marketing, that really it's just a logo, right? Or it can be just graphics or pretty pictures or simply an ad. And our philosophy is that it is definitely more than a logo, definitely more than a clever tagline that's catchy and gets people attention. It really extends into every interaction, whether that be with your external audience, so whoever your target customer is, but also something that is increasingly important in today's very competitive workplace is your internal audience. So it's really the common thread that makes you who you are as a brand is your DNA and your personality. So again, that is all way more than, hey, what is that, little icon or logo? And so we try and educate our clients and the industry of all the things that that could be, and then give some very actionable ways in which to define that and to come up with that if it's not already written down somewhere in a brand book or in a document.
Right, right. Yeah. And just so you guys know, like at Mayish, we do have a branding document, especially when we did a rebrand a few years ago. And so we created a branding document and it just kind of helped us do a lot more throughout the whole entire company. And it helped it just be really visible and visual to the rest of our teams. We are a big company, so sometimes that, getting that communication and just making sure people are embracing that can be a challenge that you kind of have to have a strategy and figure out how to kind of grow that internally as well.
Well, and especially as you all have expanded, right? You're opening new branches, and in order to duplicate or have cohesion, that is something that you need. You need that documentation. You need that one place, if you will, that brand Bible, if you will, that everybody can go to and reference, so that seeing Mayash in the marketplace, it's unmistakably, Mayash. Like, what you're going to get, what you're going to see. And I've always admired that about Mayash, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us why you think having a brand strategy is so important?
Well, a lot of times when we do some of these brand strategy exercises or brand audits, it's a little bit hard, right, for business owners and companies to kind of dig deep and figure out exactly who they want to be in the marketplace, and then furthermore, how they can truly differentiate themselves. There's a lot of Me Too's in the floral industry, which is not a terrible thing, but in order to make sure that flowers don't appear as a commodity type item, or even to, as a retail florist, to potentially compete with big box and all the other different channels that are selling flowers, you really have to nail down that unique value proposition. So having a strategy in place will help you do that and provide a point of differentiation. And so, for example, if your point of differentiation may be, I don't know, I ran into a really cool floral shop, but they don't really have a shop. They're just a truck. Like, the truck is their point of differentiation. Well,
Right.
that's what you stand for. That's what you're known for. And so it helps you really hone in on who you are, who you want to serve, and then you can get really, really focused on being the best in that specific market and with that specific audience. So it just makes you more focused and streamlined, and at the end of the day, hopefully more efficient and profitable.
Right. Yeah. Because I feel like if you have a really strong brand strategy, then you are able to attract the customer that you want to attract and be able to grow those sales. Because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, right, it's all about sales and having profit so that way you can
Exactly.
continue on as a business. And
Exactly.
brand strategy is just so important to that point.
Absolutely. So I do want to move ahead, because I do have a question for you, and this ties into some of the work that we do when we do these brand audits. But Yvonne, tell me, what is your favorite brand? Any brand.
Okay.
Pick a brand.
Well, I don't have like an all-time favorite, right? I have a lot of things that I come across that I love. So, and we kind of talked a little bit about this when we were prepping for this, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to pick. And then I was in the car with my family. It was like kind of a rainy evening yesterday, and so sports got canceled and we just were hanging out. So we all decided to go to our favorite local coffee place. And so I actually have the cup right here. It's called Kelly
Oh,
Coffee,
love it.
and I love their branding. It's super
Hmm.
clean. But as we said, it's more about branding, right? So like if you look at the lid, it says "Stay Groovy" on it,
Yep.
but and it's like a sticker that they like handmade, and
Hmm.
it's on every single one of their cups that they give out.
Right.
So there's all like different positive messages. And I love that. It always makes me smile. And we always are like, what does the cup say? Like when we go.
Right. Right.
So it's like, it's kind of setting up that expectation of like, this is the kind of company they are. It's like very fun and positive vibes. And like when you go there, right? Like even the people. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually asked one time because it's always like kind of younger people that are working there, a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
high schoolers, college people. And they're all like wearing Cali Coffee branded, merch shirts, and which,
Mm-hmm.
I love. But they say like, got you a lot, like, got you. Like, I would like, I always get like a large, hot, but not too hot chai tea latte. And they'll be like, gotcha. And like everyone says that. And I actually asked, I was like, is this part of your training? Like, I'm really curious. I'm a marketer. Like, do you guys have words that they like?
Mm-hmm.
And the girl looked at me and she's like, no. So I don't know if it's just how they speak to each other. Like,
Right.
it's so like their branding internally is so like
Strong.
strong
Mm-hmm.
that they
Inconsistent. Mm-hmm.
start speaking similarly, which I
Mm-hmm.
find very interesting.
Yep.
And then like
Chick-fil-A
there's
does that too. I don't know if you know about that, but they're trained to do that. So, mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? She might have told me no, but it actually is, like
Yeah, you never know.
you
You
never
never
know.
know. It's a
Um,
secret sauce, if you will, right? That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
marketing is at the end of the
yeah,
day, I think. Hmm.
exactly. And then like when you go there too, there's always music playing outside, so you can hear it while you're in the
Hmm.
drive-through, which sometimes could be annoying if you've had a really rough day and you just want it to be quiet, but like it's also fun and hopefully will help you be in a better mood.
Right.
And like they also like their people, like it's again just ties in with their brand. When you're ordering your drink, it's like a conversation. It's not like they're just there to take your order and move on. Like they
Right.
ask you what you're up to, what are you doing later, they'll like talk to your kids in the back seat. And like
Hmm.
that is for sure trained because every single person does it, from the person that takes your order to the person that gives you your coffee at the next window. And they have a really amazing process. And I literally just, they're a newer company. They I think now have 3 locations around here. But it's pretty cool. So it's like a local coffee place. I think they do an amazing job, and they give away like free stickers on like every certain day of the month, and they do like collaborations. They don't have food, but they'll do collaborations with like companies
Hmm.
that align with their brand as well. And then on top of it, like literally it's like the best chai tea I've ever had in my whole entire life. So
So to
like,
top it off, the product delivers, which is
yes,
very
the
important
product.
too.
Yeah, exactly. Which obviously that's so important because you're going to put all the work into your brand and then have a crappy product. Like that's not going to work.
No,
So
no. Hmm.
yeah, and we go back, and then they have a loyalty program. So like I feel like we're getting like free drinks like every other week, and that's always fun. Who doesn't want free drinks? So yeah, I love this company, Cali Coffee, and I think their branding is on point and amazing. So
And that's the thing, and so again, I think that so many of the words that you use to describe them would be the words that you would use to describe any successful brand. So there are just certain key elements to successful brands that are just going to continue to be there. And so what we ask, clients to do is really think about those elements and think about whether they are present or not in their branding, in their interactions with their customers, right? So you're talking about even marketing, customer service is marketing too. Your best marketers are going to be anybody who has that touch point directly with your customer. So to train them, to invest in them, to give them all those tools is extremely important. And that's actually something like when we're talking about making this actionable, that's definitely an actionable step that people can take back to their shop or their business and say, hey, have we really thought this through the entire customer experience?
yes.
And how our brand is represented within that, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Being customer
definitely.
centric, I think, is so important.
Hmm.
And even like in our own marketing, it's not, we, you know, I don't always talk about like what we're selling and what's this and what's that. Obviously I will mention things here and there, but that's not like the whole entire message, right? It's like, what can we
Mm-mm.
do for you? How can we solve your problems? What are you going through? It's really about the customer. And I think that's really, really key and important when you are thinking about your branding strategy and marketing in general.
Well, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's probably why your team came up with the idea to give away these services, right? So it
Yeah.
extends so much more beyond a product discount, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but like, providing that service is really important as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I let me see. Where are we at?
So
Did
we
you wanna
were,
ask
yeah.
me the one more question, or do you want me to move on to the next one?
Well, no, I think you did a great job of describing how you create that strong brand across the different branches. Is there anything else that you do to kind of set the stage for your different branches above and beyond, brand documentation? Is there an onboarding process? We talk a lot about that with clients. Like, what is your onboarding process? What does that look like? How do you tell new people about who you are and
Right.
make sure that it's consistent, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so internally, that's something that, like, as we've been kind of booming and growing, that's something that they've been working on developing. So there is like they've been working on developing an onboarding process for new people. And then also, like, when you walk into a branch, we have this, like, we just redid signage. Like, we have like these big banners that hang in all of our warehouses. They're all branded to like whatever our current like kind of look and feel is, and that changes, right? Like, we kind of have
Hmm.
our staple like logo, colors, that type of thing, but like the supporting branding will change and evolve because otherwise it just gets really boring. And we do that quite a bit, like probably once every couple of years, once, twice a year. With like the bigger things, right? Like big prints and things like that. That's, you can't replace that constantly. Otherwise it gets really expensive. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
we have, signage and packing materials and all of that. Everything is branded. And I think that's really, really important as well. And then we have like, digital signage at the branches. So that way those are like super easy to change out, and kind of, again, people are getting the layers of everything, like all the different messaging and branding, and they're kind of seeing it in all different touch points instead of just one thing, right? Um, and then I think other things that we do that are strong, is for the external piece of it, onboarding customers there. So when people do
Hmm.
come on, I have we have like one or two people, and that like their only job, is really just to like take care of these new people, right? Like,
Right.
that's such a it's and people love that too, because they have like a name, right? It's not just like Mayish Wholesale Florist and you've been approved, and there's like a name attached, and making introductions, and she makes introductions to the reps, and I think that's really important, and obviously just trying to do that in the most timely fashion as well, so
Hmm.
that way, we want to exceed people's expectations. We don't just want to meet them.
Right.
And then, like email marketing is a huge thing for us. And we have, like workflow systems for like all of our new people. And depending on like if they've turned in paperwork, they'll get like special messaging. But beyond that, it's just like kind of helping them learn all of the different resources that we offer them, because we aren't just like a regular wholesaler. I mean, that's part of our branding too, and that's
Hmm.
always been one of our pillars, right? Is we're more than a wholesale florist. We want to have this community, and talk to people and help them and connect with them and help educate, and they're free to educate us too, because that happens as well. Like, we don't know everything,
Hmm.
and so just collaborating and working with different people. This show right here is part of that, right?
Hmm.
We don't know everything there is, but we know a lot of people that know a lot of things. So kind of connecting those pieces for
Right.
our customers as well. And even if people don't see this live, it's, we try to make it super easy. And again, it's not just one touch point. It's like on multiple platforms. It's on a podcast. It's on our blog. If you subscribe to our blog, you get the email, and so that way, again, it's all very layered and intentional. And so I think that's important too. Again, connecting with the external through the internal piece of it.
Absolutely. And so, what I loved about what you just mentioned, if, for those that are listening to this, something, you said before, where do you get started? How do you even start with that? I don't have a team. It's just me or just part of me doing this. There was a workshop that I did with SAF, and one of the things I talked about was email marketing and really making that work for you. So even developing something very simple as a retail florist as like a welcome email series is something that you can do to introduce your brand, to create multiple touch points. And some cool things you can do is also incorporate video in there. So maybe it's introducing your team, like who's your designer, talking about the ownership, talking about the history of the company, and do even like just short snippets of videos in that welcome email series. So people are really connecting with you. Branding is such an emotional thing. Having a sound brand strategy is actually creating that emotional connection with your audience. And so doing an email series is a very simple way to get started doing that without having to manually call customers or things like that, even though those touches are great too. So it's just a little tip or a suggestion I would make that ties into what you were speaking about.
Yeah, I'm a big, big believer in email automation. We've done past shows about it too, and I know
Yeah.
I've talked about it with Christina, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
probably Ryan. He might be on very soon, in a month or so. Ryan
Yeah.
O'Neill from Curate. Shout
Mm-hmm.
out to
Yeah.
Ryan. And Christina's going to be on the like I'm going to do live with her next week. So shout out to Christina. But yeah, email marketing and automation is like so big. And honestly, so like we're gonna have, not yet, we're gonna have 21 branches here soon. We're opening in Raleigh and
Yep.
Charleston in the summer and the winter. And there's me and two other people on my team. I do have an intern this summer. Shout out to Claire if she's watching.
Yay. That's
And
always a great way to get help.
yeah, but we don't have that all the time.
Right. Right.
And so we're a very small team with 21 branches, thousands
That's
and thousands of
incredible.
customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime like I feel like we're kind of having a bottleneck, I'm like, okay, how can I use technology to help, right? So like,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Jen McJunkins, shout out to Jen McJunkin Schroeder. I'll say her full name. It's kind of a thing with us. She's like my main lady that does all of the kind of first touch point with all our registrations. She's
Mm-hmm.
amazing, but she also like answers the live chats on our website, and we get a lot of the same questions on a live chat, for example, a lot of the
Right.
same things over and over
Mm-hmm.
and over again. So like luckily HubSpot, I use HubSpot,
Mm-hmm.
will track all of that, and we can kind of review it and be like, oh my gosh, how can we make this work better for us? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we have to spend more money adding on a service, the services section of HubSpot. But I don't have to hire more people, and it'll answer a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these questions automatically for people. So people type in a question, it pops up the answer, asks them if they need more help. It doesn't just leave them. But for the most part, that like helps like so many people like right away. They're not waiting on anyone. They can get the answer they need and kind of move on with their day.
Right. Right.
And so it's just like, again, like leveraging the technology that's out there, because honestly, there's so many amazing things that can help a business that I think is really important too, that can help your brand and kind of keep that voice that you want to have.
Right. And that's another part of why we started FreshPath. A big part of it was to try and bridge that gap between marketing technology and the floral community, because there is a knowledge gap, like it or not, there is a pretty big knowledge gap. So
Yes.
again, we thought if we could help bridge that, if we could introduce people to technology, ways to create efficiencies with their marketing, that they could work smarter and not harder, and get more done, like you said, with less resources or limited resources. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And just a reminder to anyone, if you have any questions about branding, be sure to post them in the comments and we'll definitely get to those. So my next question for you, Melanie, is,
Mm-hmm.
I know obviously we've talked a lot about this already, but what are some other things that you think make a successful brand?
Right. So, I mean, I guess it goes back to a few key things. Purpose. If we were to think of your Cali coffee as an example, and I always do that with clients, I say, okay, take your example and does your example check all these boxes? And typically it does. So, having a very specific purpose for that brand or for that organization, but also being very outwardly vocal about what that purpose is. Do people know and understand that? Is it present in your outward materials, your website, your social channels, etc.? And then beyond that is, are you consistent, right? So if we're talking about Cali Coffee and all their different branches, or we're talking about Mash and now they're 21 branches, is that brand consistently shown throughout? Whether it's the logo and the visual aspects, whether it's the attention to detail with customer service, are you receiving a consistent experience across all the different touch points is another thing that makes a successful brand. One thing that often gets overlooked is, and I think also within floral, you get these florists or even companies that have been around for generations, right? There's so many family-owned businesses in the floral industry, which I think is amazing and fascinating and really what makes part of it very unique. But one thing that is hard sometimes for these companies that have been around for a long time is flexibility. And what I mean by flexibility, so consistency is one thing and it's very important, but flexibility is extremely important for a brand, meaning that if things are stagnant, if the markets in which you're serving are either not growing or shrinking, the brand itself and your brand strategy has to be flexible enough to do something different, be something different. Maybe you have to refresh or reinvent yourself. The website that you got up and running 15 years ago is probably not the same website you should have today. So just thinking about your brand strategy and having that be very flexible and looking within, what you're doing today and say, oh, are we doing the same thing we did 20 years ago? We should probably reevaluate, right?
Yes.
So that's just a big one that we see quite often. And we love helping people with that and thinking through that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for me. And even like the website itself, I see a lot of people who like for some reason they think, okay, I'm going to do a website and that's it. That's not how websites work. It's like a
Mm,
living, breathing
yes.
thing. It should be
Mm-hmm.
always evolving. It should be something that's on your radar. I feel like every business should have a website because they own it. Compared to social media, which you do not. It could disappear. You could get hacked. You could
Right.
lose your account. They could just
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm not doing this anymore. Will that really happen with some of the big ones? You just never know,
You
right?
don't
Like
know.
you
Mm-mm.
really
You
don't
don't. I
know.
mean, look at what's been going on with Twitter. Nobody knows, right? What's going to happen next?
Nobody knows. So like your website is literally like your lifeline in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like the making that connection in the digital world. And so it just has to be something that you really kind of focus on
Mm-hmm.
consistently and not just think about it like 5 years later and be like, oh my gosh, we haven't updated it. And we're missing X, Y, and Z still. And just like a little tangent, still to this, I forget what I was doing. I was doing research for something and I was on a florist website and I could not figure out where they were located on their website. Like, not at all. And guys, I keep on saying this like every time we talk about websites. Like,
Like,
please,
where are you? Put it somewhere in the footer about us, like multiple places.
multiple places and make sure it's on your homepage, people. Like
Right.
people want
Mm-hmm.
to make sure they're like somewhere where they know they're in the right spot and like knowing
Exactly.
where you're located is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Just city and state, it doesn't have to be an address if you don't have an address, because I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of you guys don't. That's okay. But like city and state or like the area that you service or something.
Exactly.
I
Mm-hmm.
see it literally, like, if I did this more often, because I don't have that much time all the time to do these types of things, but when I do it, I see it every single time. So, like, I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot out there. So, like, if you just do one thing this week for your website, just go and make sure.
That people know where you are.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm asking.
This
So,
is
that's
like the
my
low hanging fruit here. Like we're really trying to give everybody some very actionable steps. Low hanging fruit.
Yes. And
Easy.
that'll help with your
Easy
SEO. Like,
for sure.
if you're
Hmm.
wondering why people aren't finding your website, the first thing you want to check is like, is it obvious on where I'm like, do I talk about it? Like, where am
Hmm.
I located? What do I do? Where do I work? Those kinds of things. All right, that's my
Right.
tangent. Sorry, that's not about branding really necessarily, but like,
No,
I
I
just saw
mean,
it again and I was like, oh,
it's a cringe. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
cringe moment for sure. Trust me. I get it. Well, and so, to bring it to, so, I mean, it is connected to branding. The website itself. So, oftentimes, what we talk about with marketing in general and branding is it's truly an investment, but not just a one time investment, it's an ongoing investment in your
Yep.
company. So just like companies invest in new equipment or a new building or warehouse space, whatever it may be, the same level and attention to how you're progressing and doing better for your business needs to be given to your marketing and your branding strategy, because that will extend and permeate through everything else that you're doing. But again, the weight that a lot of companies in the industry place on that is very light.
Right.
So again, we're just here to help and provide that education and give some pretty solid steps to getting that done.
Very good.
Mhm.
So speaking of getting that done, before we move on to our next questions, I had a
Mhm.
question come in from Pollen Floral over on Instagram. They
Hi.
want to know, they say, I want to rename slash rebrand. Any
Mhm.
general recommendations? How do they get started?
Right. So we've done quite a few of these projects with rebranding or refreshing a brand. And so a lot of times what it starts with, and I was going to bring this up earlier, is are you getting the appropriate feedback on your brand? So we typically, when we do something like this, we do a brand research portion. And that's where we would do internal interviews, meaning people within the company, and we ask them a series of questions about the company. So what makes it different or unique? Who is your target audience? What's the best marketing campaign you've ever run? And you try and get this well-rounded view internally of what the team members within that organization think about the company, what it stands for, what it offers. And then the more interesting part of the exercise is doing an external survey, if you will, if you can do that, if you're able to do that. It can be extremely insightful, asking very similar questions about the brand. What makes you buy from this brand versus another brand, that sort of thing. So that's always kind of our starting point, is getting that research and that information, because maybe what made your business what it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago is not the same thing that customers think about your business today. And you need to make sure that you're reflecting that in the refresh and in the rebrand. In addition to that, then it becomes looking at the current brand and all the assets that go along with it, and what is it that you really want to keep, right, from the legacy brand. And if it's nothing, that's fine. But I think just knowing, because we had a client that was like, you know what, those colors are non-negotiable. Sorry, like we have to have them, or that specific iconography, like we have to keep that and retain that. So also knowing what you're willing to let go of versus what you must keep is super important as you get into more of the creative process there as well. And then of course, there's, depending on what your budget is, I mean, there's great agencies that can help you out. There's also, if you have an internal person, that's great. But um, with the appropriate research and with the appropriate input, it's a lot easier to get to that end product, even with a third party, than it would be if you're just like throwing things out there and just seeing if they're going to stick like spaghetti to a wall. So
Right.
those are a couple of points that we like to really emphasize when we're looking at a refresh or a rebrand with a client. So I hope that helps a little bit as a starting point.
I feel like it does. And I feel like this leads into the next question of how often should companies look to updating their branding?
Right. So this is a really big one. I mean, a lot of the articles that are out there, not just specific to florals, say that you should actually look at and reassess your branding every 3 to 5 years, but that's only if nothing drastic has changed, either with the products and the services that you're offering, or maybe just in the marketplace in general. Of course, if those significant events are happening in your business, it's going to cause you to look at it more immediately. But 3 to 5 years, just from an audit perspective, right? So going back to consistency, does this truly represent, on my website, my social channels, and marketing materials, what have you, or even at store level? Is my brand, is it very clear who we are, what we stand for throughout those different things? But really looking at that every 3 to 5 years, just to make sure, because time gets away from us all, and maybe you haven't really looked at it, or maybe you haven't really kept that brand book top of mind, and you hired 3 new people and they haven't carried that through. So that's what we say. And then a big refresh, like a true big refresh where everything gets redone, maybe at the 7 to 10 year mark. But again, that's only if you really haven't done anything earth shattering with the business in a long time, and you don't need to look at it more quickly than that.
Yeah. And I feel like there's like kind of like a medium in between, right? So like we
Mm-hmm.
like redid like our branding. I don't even know how long ago because I have a terrible memory, but a few years ago. It was longer
Mm-hmm.
than a few years ago. We like new logo, new everything.
Mm-hmm.
But like and then we have like different like looks for like all of our marketing materials that we use. And that changes probably every year, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
because it gets monotonous and you want to use something else, or you're all of a sudden kind of leaning towards another color that
Mm-hmm.
coordinates with your palette that you have.
True.
So it's kind of like this subtle shift and change, and customers might not really like be like, oh my god, that's a new design, but like it will hopefully help them like spark new interest and things like that when they're seeing kind of different colors and branding kind of materials and things like that. So that's something that we try to do. And it's not like a formal like, oh, it's a year, we need to kind of redo things. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like we feel it. So we're like, okay, it's time. We're gonna kind of redo this. And that's all Allie. Shout out to Allie. I'm doing lots of shout outs. Um,
Well, you have a really great team. They're
yeah.
so great. It's been fun to work with them. So I get it.
Yeah, but we
Uh-huh.
just get to that feeling where like, okay, we need a little refresh. And it's not
Hmm.
everything, right? Because that's expensive to do. But it's, a lot of like our digital things and that type of stuff. So and I think that helps kind of keep things fresh too.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, though, for the industry just in general, is that always be, from a trend perspective, you always need to keep your eyes open. If people are looking to us to tell them what their event should look like, or what their significant other will want in terms of flowers or the latest design on whatever it is, we need to try our best to reflect that if that's who we want to be as a company. And so I definitely agree with that, is looking at it even on a seasonal basis and saying, okay, will we have a seasonal theme, or will we have a seasonal palette that we use with our materials? Things like that could also be very important to the brand. But then in general, though, there's always going to be this core, right? It's a core branding document, the mission, vision, values, which is very overused, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason to have that, because the core itself won't change, but there will be certain elements that over time have to change because of trends, because of the end consumer, that sort of thing.
Right. Very good.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. I have another question from Bloom and Forage Farm. They say, as a new florist who is spending only profit, not credit, what are the top 4 things I should do to market and brand without spending all of my dollars?
I mean, we talked about this earlier, but definitely focusing on, well, and I also don't know about brick and mortar versus online. So I would have to figure out, depending on brick and mortar versus online, but the online presence is going to be really important to invest in. To your point earlier, Yvonne, making sure your website is current, up to date, reflective of your brand. It's an easily shoppable, very friendly consumer experience, because that's just the standard these days. If somebody goes and looks up your business and the website is not great, they are not going to buy from you. Even visit your store. That's Everybody is starting to do their research online. Everybody. And so having that presence in line, updated, reflecting your brand is going to be and should be where you start first and foremost. And then if you're able to do it, investing in some sort of paid advertising, it just depends on what your runway is for success. Because as you know, Yvonne, there's this long term play from an SEO perspective and making sure that your website is reflective of what it is you're selling and that sort of thing, keywords. But then there's a short term play, and if you're trying to drive a lot of traffic quickly, that is going to have to be on a paid basis. And so doing that could involve a third party such as us or another agency, or doing that could also mean that you have to roll up your sleeves, and some people figure it out on their own. It's a little bit of both. So I would always start with the website and the online presence first and foremost, though.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of, obviously if you have like not a whole lot of marketing dollars, then it's like investing your time, right? There's like
That's a
either
great
it's
point.
money or your
Mhm.
time, you know?
Right. And
Um,
time can equal money. So yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if you are new and you're trying to get started and you don't have a lot of money and you don't want to do ads, I mean, I do some ads now, just kind of testing stuff. I don't do a lot of ads. I never have. It's not something that we've really focused on. So like all of our growth is really organic, and it's just because we built up that social community. But that does take time, right? Like
That's what,
um,
yeah,
and
that
the
was,
content
mhm.
marketing and like building that funnel, if you have a website, making sure what we talked about earlier is having that email marketing strategy, the workflows, all of that, making it work really well for you. Thinking about what that looks like, how to exceed your customers' expectations and give them an amazing experience, so that way they have this amazing experience with you and they're gonna hopefully tell everyone they know about it, because it's just like the Kelly coffee thing. Like, it was Teacher Appreciation Week, and what did I get my teachers? I got them Kelly coffee gift cards because I love it and I want to share my love with everyone that I know. And so it's that kind of same type of thing. And when we were first like focusing on social media way back in the day,
Mhm.
when I was much younger and didn't have as many gray hairs,
And there was no
um,
TikTok and all that.
yeah, there was no TikTok or Reels or anything like that. We had like a strong social media marketing strategy using hashtags and having contests and doing giveaways. And the giveaways aren't anything like big, right? But like, doing those types of things. And then, once you build that up, like as a florist, you can like people do so much business in DMs, which is crazy to me. And it still honestly
Mhm.
drives me bananas because I hate like DMs are like such a mess. It's like, where
Like
did
a
I see
black hole.
that?
It's a black
Yeah, it's a
hole.
black
And then you
hole
can't, how do you
sometimes. I'm
search
like,
them? How do you find things? Yeah, I get
it's
it.
really hard, but you can build up a lot of business using direct message and
Right.
like reaching out to people, and even like looking at micro influencers in your area and that type of thing. So you just got to be smart and creative, reaching out, connecting with your community, and just spending the time on your own if you don't have a lot of money to do it.
I
Those are
think,
kind of my things.
yeah, from a free marketing perspective, that community involvement and engagement, I can't say enough about that, and seeking out those partnerships. There's this community right now that's happening. I live in Carmel, which is outside of Indianapolis in Indiana, and there's this community of like flower florists that are, they have their farms. It's very seasonal, but they've formed this community and they uplift one another. They share with one another. They've grown their overall total following because they are stronger together rather than separate. And that is a trend that I am seeing more and more within the floral community. Is just this sense of collaboration and that we're in this together. And I love to see that. And I think overall it's doing really great things for the industry, for consumers, and then for florists in general. It's really exciting to see. So yeah, I completely agree from a free perspective. That collaboration and community partnerships and things like that would be definitely a way to go if you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. So good luck, Bloom and Forage Farm. We wish you the best of luck with your new business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, okay. Any other questions, guys? I love the questions so far that we've had. Very good. And I have one more question for you, Melanie, that we had planned. So, what are one or two things that our audience, whether they're watching live or listening to the podcast or watching the video replay, what can they walk away with and do today to improve their brand strategy?
Okay, so if they don't have it already, they really need to sit down and they need to figure out and we call it seems technical, but their unique point of differentiation. So what is it that they do or stand for or bring to the marketplace that nobody else can do? And it doesn't necessarily have to be product specific. It could go back to that customer service or the customer experience, that sort of thing, but truly digging deep and thinking about what they do that nobody else can do and writing that down, making sure it's known, making sure that they gather some feedback even from their teams if it's a shop of more than one person, and just know and understand that. And then once they have that down, they need to really think about, we also do an exercise where it's like, what are 5 different descriptive words that you want your brand to be described as, like that you want your brand to be known for. And so that's kind of like step 2. It's like figuring out exactly who it is you want to be, developing that personality. And then the third step, which is the harder one, is trying to be as objective as possible and looking at what you answered for the first part and the second part and saying, does my website reflect those things? Does my email marketing reflect those things? Do my social channels reflect those things? And then the last thing is, internally, would my team members say that this is what we stand for as a brand? So again, it's doing what I would call like a mini brand audit, but it's asking, how are we unique? How are we different? What do we bring nobody else can do? What are 5 ways that we want to, describe our company, or 5 descriptive adjectives for our company? And do those things marry up with what we're putting out there to the marketplace and also internally to our own team members?
Very good. Okay, so before we wrap up, Melanie, I mentioned the giveaway that we partnered
Oh
up with you to
yeah.
do.
Yes.
Super exciting. Our customer appreciation giveaway, guys, is amazing. Honestly, like it was like, should we do a coupon? Yeah, like a 1-day thing. And then someone's like, let's do something that will help our customers. And then that led me to reach out to Melanie because I was like, I think Melanie could help us do something really cool. And then they helped us create this like amazing giveaway that we are doing for you that we want to talk about. So yeah, I don't even know what to say about it. So
there's 5 different services
yeah.
that we can do. 2 of them are related to branding. So there's like the basic brand audit. So it's kind of those 3 steps that I just talked about, like what can you do today? But we walk you through that exercise, and then we produce, a document that would be like, here are the things that you could do tomorrow to make a difference. So that's the basic brand audit. And then we have something that's like, we're calling it a brand elevation light. So somebody was coming on earlier, I can't remember the shop, but said, we want to refresh, we want to rebrand. We would take you through at what we call like a light version of doing that and present maybe a couple of concepts for your business if you're looking to refresh or rebrand. So those are the 2 branding services. And then we have a basic website audit. So again, if your website is your calling card and you want to make sure that that is a great outward facing display of your brand online, we would do a full audit. We would look at different SEO metrics, that sort of thing, rankings, and then give you, again, actual steps that you could put into place to improve your website. And then email and social. We talked about both of those things earlier. So we have an email campaign bundle. Maybe it's us working on you for that welcome email series or for that onboarding experience via email. And then social media calendar. So getting very in the details, but planning out content. So there's always going to be some impromptu content, things that just come up. But again, if you're we hear it all the time, it's like, oh, I don't know what to post, or I don't know what to post, so I don't post anything, or I don't know if what I'm doing is even working. So being very intentional, and we'll walk you through the process of creating that content calendar. So you have the frequency down, you have your goals in mind. What are you trying to do and accomplish with your social channel of choice? And we will walk you through that and plan out 3 months worth of content with you alongside your team.
Yes.
So those are the packages.
The packages, yeah,
they're
are
pretty good.
amazing. They are amazing, guys. And we are giving away 5 packages for each round. We're doing 4 rounds throughout the next 12 months. So the deadline to apply for our first round is June 24th, and our winners will be announced July 1st. Then round 2 will start up. And then you have, again, another deadline that's in August, another deadline in December, another deadline in February. You get the picture. So you only need to enter once. If we don't select you, it will roll over. But I have to say, when you think about mathematics, if you enter in earlier, your chances will be better. Just throwing that out there. So definitely get entered. We're really excited. We have so many great entries already. And how to enter is there's a form for you to complete. You kind of share your flower story and why your business would benefit from winning one of these packages with Fresh Path Marketing. And then we just ask you to kind of share the love, talk a little bit about your experience, and we're just going to love on each other, right? So super excited about this, guys, and it's something that we've never done before. So I hope that you love it. I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know. You all have my email address, especially if you received my email about this morning. So yeah, just let us know what you think, and I hope that you enter. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out. Either myself or someone from my team will be happy to help you guys with any questions that you might have. And if there is something that we can't answer that's more about Fresh Path Marketing, then we'll be sure to forward that on to Melanie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So very exciting, guys.
Yes.
And I'm just so happy to be working with you, Melanie, on this, and
Same
just
here.
having you on the show, I think it's really refreshing. Again, I love marketing. So I think this was fun to talk about, and branding
It's an
is so
easy
important.
topic for us.
Yes, for sure. And so, guys, Melanie's going to continue to be a guest on the show probably every quarter or so. We'll have some different marketing topics that we're going to cover. So be sure you stay tuned for that. And it's going to be a lot of great information. So thank you, Melanie, again, for taking the time to come on this show. So appreciate it. And just a big shout out to you and your team.
Appreciate it. Yes. Thank you for your partnership. And we can't wait to work with our first 5 lucky winners. We cannot wait. We're very excited.
Yes. Woo! I wish I had glitter. Well, I don't want glitter because I don't want to clean it up, but like, because it's
maybe
summertime.
just like some sort of filter
Yes.
with glitter.
Right? Exactly.
Funny.
I love it, guys. So that's a wrap on today's Mornings with Mayish. Thank you guys so much for spending time with us. It's going to be an hour show, so I really appreciate it. Whether you watch live or you're going to listen or watch the replay, love you guys. And then make sure you stay tuned, because this month our Mayish Design star, Dalen Rivera, is going to be back discussing his latest video that should be dropping sometime today. Super excited about that. Just a little preview, or it's kind of merging ballet and flowers and just talking about creativity. It's really going to be a great video. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be going live with Christina Barragon of Fleur Society next week on Instagram on Wednesday. So again, mark your calendars, stay tuned for more details, and keep on sending in your floral questions. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.